Hi, this is Danielle Roberts, and you are listening to the Giving Town podcast, where we share stories of hope and generosity in Newberg, Oregon, and the surrounding areas. This podcast, as I always say, is sponsored by my real estate team, the Joyful Roberts Group, and we're licensed with Premier Property Group. And one of the things that I will mention on this episode, I usually talk about my YouTube channel where I educate people about all things real estate, things about Newberg. There's always new videos being added. But really the main heart and soul of my business is referrals from past clients and referrals from people like you who support this podcast, who support kind of the other side of the mission of sharing stories of positivity. So one thing that I would ask of you, if you're someone who regularly listens and are not necessarily a real estate broker yourself or don't already have a close relationship, because I know there are so many great real estate agents out there. But, if you support this mission, I would just ask that if you come across someone who's looking to buy or sell a home, that you just send them our way. If you've got my cell phone number, you can send me a text or a call, because that really is what makes this whole thing possible. So if you could do that for me, I would really appreciate it. It makes it a lot easier to do more of these episodes. And I hope to eventually go from doing one every 2 weeks to once a week. And again, what will make that possible is people like you sending people our way to work with us to help them buy or sell a home. So that is my ask to you. And with that, let's get on to the episode. Hey everyone, I am here with Patty Williams, who is the Executive Director of the Willamette Valley Cancer Foundation. And I'm looking forward to bringing some great information about this organization, in addition to just kind of talking about what they do and some of the misconceptions people have about people going through cancer. And I think there'll be a lot of great stuff. So Patty, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So just kind of right off the bat, can you share a little bit about what the Willamette Valley Cancer Foundation is and how it got started?
Sure. The Willamette Valley Cancer Foundation is an organization serving Lincoln, Tillamook, and Yamhill counties. And our mission is basically to foster hope in cancer patients. And the way we do that is to administer a financial assistance program and help people pay their bills for those people who have been unexpectedly and financially sidelined by a cancer diagnosis and treatment. The foundation itself was founded in part as part of the Willamette Valley Medical Center's H.R. Hoover Cancer Center. And that Cancer Center also houses organ oncology specialists, which provide oncology services, and the Willamette Valley Medical Center's radiation oncology services. So it's always been considered, the foundation's always been considered integral to that cancer center.
Okay. And that's located in McMinnville, right?
Yeah, Willamette Valley Medical Center in McMinnville.
And, it's funny because I used to always think, it was actually Lisa Salmons who kind of first was like, you need to interview Patty. But I always thought that it was like, oh, that's for people in McMinnville. Do you guys get that at all? That people think, oh, it's just for people that are patients or members or whatever of that?
We do
hospital.
get that a bit with the foundation, but I'd say more than anything, what we get is that people don't know that the cancer center, world-class cancer center is right there in McMinnville. But from the Cancer Foundation perspective, we serve 3 different counties. Yeah. And I think one of the criteria that's always important to point out is that the criteria is geared around where the cancer patient lives, not where they're getting treatment, which is why Newberg is part of our territory. It's why Lincoln City and Tillamook's part of our territory. So that's probably one of the misconceptions that we would like to see corrected, is that we don't just serve McMinnville or just Yamhill County.
So say, for example, someone is living in Yamhill County, but they're receiving treatment up at, say, OHSU, they're still eligible through the Cancer Foundation. Right.
In terms of the location criteria, yes. Yeah. 3 other criteria that we have that some other organizations don't is that they must have a current cancer diagnosis, and then either be in active treatment or within a 6-month window of treatment. One side or the other. And then the other, criteria that kind of makes us somewhat unique is that we're financially need-based. Okay. So the criteria has to round out with someone actually where their household budget is upside down. Okay. Whereas some organizations you'll run into where they are more experiential, they want kids to go to the beach or, provide experiences. Ours is strictly around providing financial assistance.
And I think maybe one of the things people don't think about is, okay, maybe you have insurance, maybe you have good health insurance that will cover the treatments, but then what about the fact of not being able to work or not being able to go and do all of the things that normally you could do? right? And that's kind of the challenges people face, that there's what seems maybe like there's a gap in the system, so to speak, of, especially if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you've got insurance, you think you're covered, but, is that typically what you see?
It is typical. It's typical that, the cancer patient might be the only breadwinner, and like you said, be unable to work and not know how long that window of opportunity is of not being able to work and bring in a paycheck. And equally, common, I guess, would be that the breadwinner is the caretaker of the cancer patient. So there's always that disconnect of how the bills are going to get paid. And at the Cancer Foundation, we paid the bills directly. We don't pay medical bills, but we can step in and take care of mortgage, rents, utilities, health insurance premiums, auto. We've made car payments, auto insurance. I mean, it's like one of the unique things about the foundation is that we can customize whatever works for the patient.
Okay. Wow. So, so basically, you take someone, you recognize, okay, they have some level of financial need. You evaluate what are their essential items that they used to be able to afford, either working themselves or before they had to be a primary caretaker. You look at those things and you're able to directly pay for those while they're in cancer treatment.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now, is there a limit of like what you can actually pay out, or how does that part work?
Yeah, actually, we have an annual maximum. So if you were approved for financial assistance today, and I'm just coming out of our grants committee where we approved probably about $10,000 or $12,000 in assistance, you would have 1 year of a maximum of $2,500.
Okay.
But we also have a $5,000 lifetime maximum. So you could get even more assistance. And that's a chunk of money for somebody who's needing assistance. The idea behind the assistance level is that we help get you through this. We help get you on the other side of it. And sometimes it happens, which is always great when, you have those clients and patients that you go, you don't have to do anything anymore. They're back to work or they're back whole again. And we have some people that, use up a $5,000 max or don't live to see it.
Yeah.
So we really kind of run across all kinds of scenarios.
Yeah. Now, I mean, because I do some similar level of volunteer work where you see people, because you can't provide everything, right? Like someone's making a certain amount of money, and then and for some people, $2,500 could be used in a month.
Exactly.
That income is just gone. What do you do in those? And there may not be a whole lot you can do, but what do you do in those situations when you?
If we have some very special circumstances, and again, those are kind of customized and unique.
Sure.
Not that I could give you a bullet point of what they are, but the committee is very generous, and as long as the foundation budget can support it, we would entertain special circumstances.
Yeah.
And particularly if someone has a terminal diagnosis, we don't have to wait for that annual max to max out before we can move to the lifetime. If someone's lifetime isn't really expected to last, we can provide some more assistance.
Yeah. So what are some of the main barriers? So someone gets, they go to a doctor appointment, what they think maybe is a routine checkup, they find out, oh my gosh, I've got cancer. And that's just something there's no class you take in high school or college or, there's nothing to really prepare you for that. So I guess, what is the process? Like, what does that look like from like, okay, I've got this, now I have to go through treatments, and there's, this whole whirlwind too. So what does that process look like from your end?
It can certainly run the gamut, with different people. But when you ask the question about what are the main barriers, the cancer impacts people from all walks of life. Young, old, rich, poor, male, female. There's no barrier that says, oh, well, that's not going to happen to you. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of one of those empathetic moments where you think like this could happen to anybody. Yeah. Some people may be more susceptible for whatever reasons, their environment or health history. But some of the barriers and the ideas that come out to me is that treatment can be so time consuming, whether it's day to day, week to week, month to month, depending on the diagnosis and the treatment plan. And so you may have to plan to go to treatment every day 100 miles away. So if you're on the coast and you're making a 100-mile round trip into the H.R. Hoover Cancer Center, that you have to have gas. You have to have a reliable car. So it's like the day-to-day impact and the impact on your calendars can just be incredible. And it can be expensive. So just even if you thought you were in good shape financially and you get hit with a diagnosis and your insurance isn't good enough, it's going to have an impact on your life. And treatment, it can be exhausting. Different treatments for different kinds of cancers. People react differently. Things are probably better than they were back in the olden days. The treatment's getting better, more specific, but it's exhausting. And so you might feel fine on a Friday after your treatment and fall out for the rest of the weekend. So you just really don't know day to day or week to week how you might actually feel.
Yeah. So what are some of the misconceptions that people have about the challenges that patients face? Everyone has heard or has known someone, most likely who's gone through cancer, but we kind of have these misconceptions of what it's actually like. So what are some of the common ones that
it's interesting
people have?
I've actually asked some other people closer to the patients from a medical side about that, and I got some interesting feedback. And I think one of the most common misconceptions is that when treatment's over, the journey's over. And it's not. And if you talk to breast cancer survivors or cancer survivors, it's like that journey stays with them, that life-changing moment. And while some people may march on and, tackle the world, for some people there's still that fear of hearing the words, once again, you have cancer.
Yeah.
That's one misconception. One misconception is that cancer is a death sentence, which it's most certainly not.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things we can do ourselves to maintain health and get checkups so that we are less prone or we can catch something early. But cancer is not a death sentence. And I think there's probably a lot of misconceptions around treatment. You have probably pictures of the days of old of chemotherapy just making people sicker than the cancer. That's kind of the misconception, is that the treatments these days, and I can't speak specifically to them because I don't come from the medical side of this field, but the treatments are changing and getting better all the time.
Do you have, I know you just said you don't have any connection to the medical side, but do you know of any examples of how, because I think I probably have that same misconception of people get chemo and it just completely destroys them. But do you have any examples of what newer types of treatments are that don't do that? Maybe not like in a technical, scientific side.
Yeah. But, and I really can't speak to the medical side of what the specific treatments and, a difference between one and the other. But what I can speak to is the people side of who comes through the doors at H.R. Hoover in particular. And I'm sure it's like this at other cancer treatment centers, that you can recognize some people come in, they get chemotherapy and they walk right back out and, they may have to come in the next day or the next week and they're fine.
Okay.
So it's just, it's just kind of that picture I have of the people involved, and other people, their struggles are different and harder, and you kind of leave that to the doctors and the nurses and the medical assistants to help take care of that patient. And then we get those referrals for people who, get thrown up against that wall of how am I going to make it? How am I going to feed my kids if I'm going through treatment?
Do you partner with any other agencies or organizations? Because I know there's other people that I think, like you said at the beginning, who provide an experience or provide different levels of support. Do you partner with any other agencies who kind of come alongside and help in different ways?
Yeah, we do, actually. And it's been kind of a very concerted effort. We informally call ourselves the Common Cause Crew. And what that involves the Seeds of Hope program from See You Later Foundation and the With Courage, which is a breast cancer focused organization. And the See You Later Foundation, they help people with cancer or life-threatening illness.
Okay.
And again, sometimes it's financially, it's not financially based, need based, but they do provide some financial support and then experiences too, because their focus is that there's a child in the home, whether it's the parent that has cancer or a life-threatening illness and they have children in the home, or if it's a child who's sick.
Yeah.
So they have the very child focus. And then With Courage is breast cancer in Yamhill County only. So we serve different counties except for Yamhill, but we kind of came together knowing that we had clients that we all three could serve and make it an intent to reach out and make sure that when we get a referral from someone, we say, can we refer you to someone else if we can stretch these resources?
Yeah.
So that's been good. But again, that's kind of like focused on Yamhill County, which is great for Newburgh too.
Yeah.
And then most recently, since we serve Lincoln County as well, we've joined up with a new event called Coastbusters for Breast Cancer. And they're in their second year. It was 2 survivors that decided they wanted and needed to do something.
Yeah.
And they had worked with Samaritan. And so we've partnered up with them for the first time this year. So we're always looking for those partnerships too, and have found through like the Common Cause crew that we can leverage the resources. So if Seeds of Hope can pay a bill that we didn't get approval to pay in our award, we can just, take care of more things.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I think going through cancer is hard enough, but then if you have to, and also going through financial hardship is hard enough. Both those together can be absolutely devastating. So I think all the help people can get. Yeah. It's great that there's other organizations you can partner with in that sense.
Yeah. And we have people who come sit in the office and they really feel at a loss for what they're going to do. And sometimes I think what we do feels kind of small. It's like, we're doing what we can. If we can help you, we will help you. And it's amazing how grateful people can be for what sometimes seems like so little. And, one example I'm thinking of here recently is we just had a big fundraising event a few weeks ago. We're having a golf tournament coming up on Monday. And the Cancer Foundation is kind of the conduit. It's like we're serving about 51, probably closer to 60 patients and families right now, 2022. Those 50 people aren't going to go organize a golf tournament to help raise some money to pay their bills. But we can do that. And so we can get those donors and those players and have people come out for a cause and hopefully teach them more, show them this level of empathy that these people need. They don't need, sympathy's fine, but empathy goes a heck of a lot farther.
Now, it's because you said that everyone has their own kind of different definitions of empathy and sympathy, and sometimes mix them up. What do you feel the difference between those two is?
Sympathy, I think you don't have to worry about putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. This is my personal, definition and take on it. It's like you can just be sad, you can be upset about something, you can be sympathetic. But empathy is when you realize this could be you, or it's important that it's somebody. It's not just, oh, poor them. It's more, I think, heartfelt.
Yeah, I think we need more of that.
Yeah, I think we do too. It's unfortunate we have lots of gaps in all kinds of areas that people just really fall through and don't even know there's help available.
What would you say for you personally, what about this work is most important to you?
Well, it's interesting because my academic training's in agriculture. I was always in the green industry, working in the wine industry, or the professional tree care industry. What's important to me being in this work and in this field and in this position is having respect for how well people get by in life on so little. And that when they come through our door, they know they can sob, they can cry, they can laugh, they can talk about their circumstances, they can present their bank statements without judgment. And that if we can help them, we will.
Yeah. I imagine that must feel pretty rewarding, at least being able to, like you said, you can't do everything, but being able to have some part and knowing that you're improving someone's life that is really struggling. Yeah,
it is rewarding. And it's humbling and it's rewarding. So, you can't really beat that for a combination to get to work. It'd be nice if we could work ourselves out of this job. If cancer wasn't here or if financial worries weren't here, I don't think we are going to see that in my lifetime, but we'll keep working on it. And, if we can raise more money, either by events or reoccurring donations and things, we can help more people. So we are limited in what we can do right now because we don't have a money tree.
Yeah. Is there is the limit right now in the funding? Like, do you have a wait list, or is it you try to help everyone who comes in as much as you can? How does that part work?
So far, I mean, we don't have a wait list, but we just had a meeting this morning where we approved funds for, I'd say, upwards of 8 applicants, and we're already getting applications for next month. So the grants committee that reviews the applications meets at the second Tuesday of every month.
Okay.
And, we've had a couple of months where we might have 2 or 3, but the more we get out and talk to people about what we're doing and the services that we provide, we see a continual uptick. And if we can do more outreach in the coastal communities, which is we've ramped up in the last year or so, and work with the social workers who actually see the people. That's kind of the big thing for us is we need to get to the people who see the patients so that they know we exist.
Yeah. And you'd mentioned a little bit earlier, maybe before we started recording, about you're starting to find more or being able to do a little bit more outreach in Newburgh and seeing more people in Newburgh specifically take advantage. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think we are currently serving 6 or 7 patients that live in Newburgh.
Okay.
And that's probably the second highest just outside of McMinnville. At McMinnville, I think we have about 14 current patients, or we refer to them as clients that we're helping. So it's definitely the second largest community that we're serving in Yamhill County. And part of that, I think, too, is the continued outreach that we're doing, either through the Chamber of Commerce or the Rotary, or just letting people know that we actually, serve this area. I know sometimes when you think about where the hospitals are, that's kind of what people equate with the town or the community. So Newburgh is, Providence, and Lincoln City, or Newport is Samaritan, and McMinnville's Willamette Valley. But, we can cross those bridges.
Yeah. Which is good for people to know, I think, especially if anyone who listens to this and knows someone who maybe is getting care elsewhere, or maybe they think, oh, well, that's only for people over there, to know that it is a resource for anyone here too. Yeah.
So we have an application on our website. So if anybody's hearing this and goes to Willamette Valley Cancer Foundation.org and scrolls down all the way to the bottom left, we've got a grant application. So we try and make it as easy as possible to, get that information.
Yeah.
Because we are financially need-based, we have to, eventually look at the mortgage statement or the rent agreement or something. But that first wave of information that we need to determine eligibility, we've tried to make as easy as possible.
Okay. Can you share any stories of a family or an individual who maybe that comes to mind, like, wow, like this, this person really got what we were trying to do, or that we were really able to serve this person in the way that we wanted?
Yeah. Well, the Cancer Foundation's been around for 20 years, so the stories go back 20 years. In my 2.5, a few stories stand out. One of them was just recently, last fall. There was a young woman who was diagnosed and ended up being terminal. She has 4 young kids, recently separated with not much other support, and we were able to step in and provide assistance at the level that we could. But the whole community kind of rallied around this family. And this is where we leveraged our resources. So it was Yamhill County. We leveraged our resources to bring in those other organizations, and it was around the holidays. So other people and departments in the hospital stepped up. So the kids all got holiday presents, and I think one of the big things is that we had an anonymous donor step up and pay off this woman's vehicle, which was kind of like the most challenging thing for her, to not be working, not have any support, and to still have a car payment and get to treatments and things, that we had someone step in and say, I'm going to pay for that.
Wow.
So that's kind of a big story.
Yeah.
And there's a range of them. I'd say one other one that always kind of stuck with me, and this might have been because it was early in my tenure with the organization, was another gentleman, and he was terminal and was about to go on hospice. And while there's a window of treatment, basically, technically, when you're in hospice, you are not considered to be in active treatment. So that means you're not really eligible for our assistance. And we were able to make some arrangements for him toward the end of his life. But the humbling and telling part of that story is that he was ready to give up going on hospice for a few months so that he could just maintain the relationship with the Cancer Foundation.
Wow.
And part of that for him was it not only financial, but it was emotional too.
Yeah.
So
shows that you're really doing something meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you say some of the main barriers that you as a foundation experience?
One, letting people know who we are, that the Willamette Valley Cancer Foundation is a nonprofit 501c3 organized in the state of Oregon, that we serve a broader community than just McMinnville, because if people equate us with our address,
right,
that's kind of sometimes a barrier. And then just, COVID certainly hamstringed everybody in terms of being able to fundraise. And fortunately, the Cancer Foundation was sitting on enough reserves that we didn't worry too much about 2020. But right now, we're trying to ramp up our fundraising efforts. And like any organization that provides these kinds of services, we have to go out and find those funds. And so, a $5 monthly recurring fee or donation, some people might think, oh, that's not gonna do anything. It really is true that every dollar counts. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to try and launch into where we can find more recurring donors, whether it's $1 a month or $5 or $50, and then look at our other fundraising events to try and make them, super sustainable.
Yeah. What would you like to say, just to the community in general? Like, if you could have one thing that you could just say to anyone.
Wow, that's a good question. And it's interesting. It's like, I think what I'd like to convey is for people to recognize Willamette Valley Cancer Foundation, because there's a lot of Willamette Valley something, there's a Cancer Institute, there's cancer research. It's like, recognize the foundation for what it is, which is a financial assistance program. Yeah. And our kind of revised motto in the last few years is that we like to say, we're here so no one fights alone.
Yeah. Well, thank you for what you do. Thank you for sharing the stories. Thank you for sharing and clarifying about who you are and what you do and how you help. And my hope for this is that, one, anyone who needs the help, is going through cancer, can come and get the help that they need. But also, I think there's an added level when you learn what other people go through, like what you said earlier, the empathy that can come from that, of recognizing, wow, like, these are real people. And, you can't go around thinking of every single person who has every hard thing, because, we'd all be, completely depressed. We just can't handle that. But I think at the same time, learning to live with just a sense of, that people really have powerful struggles, and live with a life of gratitude of, we have, no matter what you're going through, even, whether, there's always something to be grateful for. And I think most of us have so many more things to be grateful for than we recognize. And that's my hope of listening to this, of learn to be grateful, learn to find ways to do something and be supportive, be part of the, as cliche as it may be, part of the solution instead of part of the problem. But I want to thank you for doing what you did. You made at some point a career change from the tree care to human care. Uh-huh. And, I think you've probably found what it sounds like is that there's a lot more meaning that comes from caring for people than caring, not that there's anything wrong for caring for trees, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, this is great. This is great.
So thank you for sharing, and look forward to getting this message out to everyone.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
Well, I hope you enjoyed learning about the Willamette Valley Cancer Foundation. And if you know anyone facing cancer, please share this resource with them and make sure they're not fighting this battle alone. If you'd like to learn more about this foundation or would like to get involved, you can visit WillametteValleyCancerFoundation.org, which is also linked in the description. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next episode.